Sunday morning, J&T's Old School Tip of the week, month. What is it? I don't know.
I
How
don't
you
know the
doing, brother?
month. I'm good. I'm good, my
You
friend.
sure?
I'm
You sure?
good.
You all right? All right. You know, it's,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah. I'm a
weird
little
day.
late. I'm a little late to the game here, man. We had like lightning and storms
Yes,
going on
it's
over
up here
here,
now.
and
You've
yeah.
brought it up
Oh
here now.
man, it
So
was a weird
20,
morning. I yeah.
2020 is starting off weird. We got lightning, storms, thunder. It's 150 degrees yesterday, and now we may have hail and snow. What is happening, brother? Look at
Well,
you
hey,
sweating and
before
everything.
like crazy. Let me just say something right out of the gate, though.
Yes,
Forget
sir.
about money, finance. Forget about patience and music. I just want to give you a personal thank you and shout out because you put a lot of effort into building this program, all the stuff you have to do before I just show up and share some dialogue with you. But you are something else. And I watch a lot of your other shows as well, through StreamYard and other forums, and you bring a good message out to the world, and this is another one of them. So
Thank you, man.
kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you, sir. It's all about the folks that I work with, so I wouldn't be anything without you guys. Today's your day, though, right? I mean, I like I said during the pre-show, I'm literally going to sit back. I got my pen and paper here. I'm going to absorb as much information from you today on this particular topic. We're talking finance today, folks. We're talking about being right with your money, doing right with your money, making sure you have money, right?
Amen to that.
Proper, some best practices. I think I've got a handful of notes, but I think we should also encourage the viewers and the listeners to chime in as well with any questions that they may have, because I'm not going to lie, sometimes folks may be a little more comfortable when they're behind a screen or just behind a keyboard with asking specific types of questions. So hey, chime in with a question. No question is too small, too dumb, or anything of that, and let's learn together. That sound cool?
That yeah, no, it does. And I'll start off by really saying that unfortunately, and again, this is about old school tips, right? This is
Yeah.
our concept. And I'll tell you, from back in the day to today, the concept of money is always an interesting one, right? Because it's like politics or religion or your views on other stuff that we don't bother with on this show. But money has
Yeah.
that same concept. Like nobody wants to talk about it. Everyone's all either they don't want to brag about it, they don't want to be embarrassed about it, or they don't want to share things. And all I have to say to you and to everyone listening or watching this is that money is critical. It's critical. I mean, I study it, I love it, I manage it, I make it, I save it, I invest it, and I even collect it. And that may sound weird to a lot of people, but I love to talk about it. I talk about it with my friends, I talk about it with anyone I can, because to me, we're watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan right now, which is
Yeah.
just really good, right? So
Yeah,
Michael,
I won't give you any spoilers, but yeah, you as a sports fan, you will enjoy the entire thing. Good.
oh, I'm down to like 3 episodes, Grace and I, but Michael had a passion around basketball and
Yeah.
competition, and I have that same passion around money and budgets and how it flows through the economy, and that was my
Hmm.
major in college, and I love talking
Yeah.
about it. And I know it has some, people are like, oh, all you care about is money. It's like, well, I care about money just like Michael Jordan cares about basketball. So
Yeah.
if you don't like it, then log off, because
That's
that's
true.
me.
We're
Yeah, I
not.
mean,
No
well,
one's
yeah,
forcing you to sit here and listen to it.
yeah.
Everyone knew
So
the topic, so
yeah, and again, I don't mean it from a greed perspective, and I don't brag about it, or anything like that. But I like to share with kids and families and others, and through financial literacy and through
Mhm.
nonprofits, and
That's a great
frankly
point.
through my 31-year career has all been helping people become financially successful, whatever that means to them, James. And financial
That's a good point.
success, right? It doesn't mean you've got a big house, you've got a Lamborghini, you've got all, I mean, maybe that is for somebody. I don't know. I mean, but it's all about just being financially successful from your perspective. And I just wanted to
Yeah.
kick it off by mentioning that.
Yeah, and I guess I'll iterate on that as well because again, everyone's measure of success, everyone's number is different, right? Not
Yeah,
everyone
yeah, yeah,
needs
yeah,
X, Y, and Z in savings in the bank or in stocks and bonds, whatever the case may be, to
yeah,
sustain their life and to live a happy life, right? Money is not everything to everybody, but you definitely need to be aware of its pros, right,
yeah,
as opposed to just the cons of it, right? You can do certain things. You can live a certain lifestyle that may be more comfortable as you care for your finances, and especially if you care for them earlier on in life, right?
yes,
The later you get,
yes,
across that curve, you can still do it, but man, now you've got probably other responsibilities. You got kids, you got a vehicle, you got a home or whatever. It gets a little bit harder later on that you get, I would say, right, to reach whatever that financial nest is. But again,
yeah,
I guess one thing that you would probably say to your customers, and I'm hoping I'm putting words in your mouth, it still can be done at whatever stage you're at,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you're still above ground, you've got an opportunity to build
yeah.
up some type of savings, some type of nest egg, and be financially literate. I like that.
Yeah, it's
So where you
just
want to
more.
start, brother?
Yeah. Well, it's just again, it's more difficult that way, but it can still happen. And you mentioned pro and con, and money is no different than technology, no different than sports, no different than
Yeah,
other things. The good and the bad. There's good things about money, and there's bad things about money. There's good things about technology, like what you put on your platform, and there are bad things about technology which will that's another subject down the road, technology. But you get the point. And I want to talk about the good. And unfortunately, our younger generation now don't get what even we got back in the day, right? So we were
yeah.
educated. We had, what was it called, home economics or whatever, where you learn
Home
how to
ec.
write a
Look, I was
check,
talking
and
to the kids
yeah,
about the right way to write a check, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
not
yeah,
putting the word dollars at. Oh my gosh, no one knows
yeah.
how to
I
how to
know,
do
I
that
know.
anymore,
And
man.
but James, they don't get that today. Like no one wants to talk about it. Like they don't get any financial literacy. So if you go to certain websites, you can learn about it, but you have to be proactive yourself to learn
Yeah,
about it at whatever stage in life you're in. And there are different stages that I would love to at some point during this time talk about.
we got it, man. We've got the whole amount of time, and no one's going outside because again, it's lightning and thunder in our neck of the woods. So I'm stuck in. I did all my yard work yesterday. Let me start by I guess bridging a
Yeah,
couple of questions to you, and then I'm sure other folks would chime in. But I mean, your definition, I guess, of trading versus investing, right?
yeah,
And do
yeah.
you delineate between those two statements?
I do. I do. I think, and by no means am I a tax accountant or an investment advisor. So I got, put that little thing at the bottom.
Got
Tim
to
is
put
not
that
an investment
disclaimer.
advisor. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
This is my 51 years worth of knowledge, right? And investing and trading are very, very different things. I mean, trading it to me is like you're on the craps table in Vegas, and that's okay,
Yeah.
right? I do it. I mean, I do it.
Hmm.
I took advantage of the mid March collapse, and I went out there and bought a basket of stocks at very very low prices, and I put money in that I knew if I was going to lose it all, it wouldn't impact the way I lived, and it
Hmm.
was like rolling dice. I'm putting $100 on 6 and 8 and a high low yo or whatever, right? I mean, I'm rolling that to me that's trading, and you can make a
Yeah.
decent amount of money doing that, and a lot of people are successful at it. To me, investing is more strategic,
Okay.
right? It's
More
it's
long term instead of a short term type of thing.
exactly. It's not living
Yeah.
for today and I'm going to buy Tesla and then Elon is going to make an announcement and it's going to go up 20% and I'm going to sell it and take that 20% and I'm going to roll. Plus, there's tax
Yeah.
consequences on that too if you do it too quick. Investing is more of a longer term horizon. You look at things. One concept that I want to make sure I get clear, and again, this may be boring, and I apologize, but it's critical, is diversification. And when you
Hmm.
invest, you have a strategy, and it's very long term, and you're looking at a long horizon, 10 years, 15, whatever, but you're also diversified. I mentioned
Yeah.
Tesla, or I mentioned, other things. Let's talk banks.
Well, I was
You
gonna
don't
say
want to.
you mentioned that you literally own or you hold not just stocks and bonds, you hold money as well. So I
Yeah.
think from
Oh
a
yeah.
diversification perspective, right? You mean gold, silver, precious metals, whatever the case may be,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. No, that's a really good point, because it's not just diversification within your investment portfolio of stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Well, it is stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cash, precious metals, foreign exchange. I mean, you can do all of that, but if we keep it really simple and just talk about stocks, a
Yeah.
mutual fund was frankly created to create a basket of diversified stocks to help somebody like me who's not really good at it figure out a way to do it without having a high level of risk, right?
Yeah.
So because if you go out there and I tell this to my kids all the time who are active traders, I say, why would you buy four banks and Verizon and Tesla? That the four banks, they go up and down as an industry,
Yeah.
right? So you got to, you get one of each. Pick the Verizon or AT&T or whatever. Pick the Key Bank or US Bank, and then pick the Tesla, and then go around and have a basket, I guess, of
Yeah.
real diverse, and focus on industries as well. Don't just say, well, my portfolio is diverse because I have seven stocks. Well, you have to look at what the heck those seven stocks are to call it diverse. But
If
anyway,
you're all retail, then you're not very diverse.
yeah,
It's funny you mentioned the
yeah.
word diverse, and I thought you were going to start with a concept of dollar cost averaging because I wanted to
Oh,
bring
look
that
at
up as well. Look, brother. I know. Come on now.
yeah,
This is this. I've been around the block, and I've known you for 30 years, so I know what I'm
yeah,
talking about a little bit. But
yeah,
so let's talk about that, right? So
yeah,
diversification, different types of funds, stocks, mutual fund, everything of that nature, right? Not just focusing on one sector. So again, I brought up
sure,
retail. You buy what you like. Yeah, you shop at Macy's, you shop at Nordstrom, you shop at
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Target or whatever. But diversify that lot as well. But from a dollar cost averaging perspective, right? Putting money in, letting that money accumulate over time. Tell me what your thoughts are on that. Actually, I've had this conversation with your son, with Alex, so I know how you feel about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I've got a story about compounding interest too. So let's not forget about compounding interest, because that's dollar cost averaging to me is one of the most incredible things you can do, right? So if there's anybody on here trying to figure out how do I, put myself in a better position, um, dollar cost averaging is absolutely one of them. And whether it's you're automatically putting money into a savings account, or your dollar cost averaging into the market, that's what you're referring to. So
Yeah.
here's a great example. I mean, and I don't know the exact dates and math, but I read something where it says if you miss the six most important days of a 10-year period, then your returns are down like 50%. 6 days in 10 years.
Wow.
So the point of dollar cost averaging is put money in a little bit at a time. Like personally, every 2 weeks, I do some investing. Every 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And guess what?
Hmm.
I did it March 15th when it tanked, and that money is growing at a faster pace. I did it in April when it was a little bit higher and it's growing. And guess what? This coming Friday, I'm putting more in. And the market's at all-time highs. I don't really
Yeah.
care. Don't, then
Yeah.
you don't have to think about it. It's called you're averaging your way into the market instead of trying to pick the bottom or pick the top and don't
Yeah.
go there,
Yeah.
that
Because
kind
you
of thing.
can't
So
do
it's a
that. I mean,
really good
look,
concept. Yeah.
you can't do that unless you're
No,
sitting in
no.
front of a Quotron all day, every day. You hear me dropping some industry terms there, Quotron.
Yeah.
Unless you,
I'm
but
impressed. I'm impressed.
but Because yeah, there's all these avenues. There's applications and financial investing companies allowing the consumer now to do a lot of this stuff themselves. But again, you can't have all the monitors up in front of your room or in front of your house and be tied into New York, be tied into Chicago, be tied into all the markets, and know exactly what's happening. You're not going to know when the V is, when the W, know when all of those changes in the market
Sure.
space are. So
Yeah.
continuing to put that money in at a regular recurring rate, and then over time, as you say, it'll you should come out ahead,
Yeah. And
right?
you know what else it
You
does
can't
too?
time the market, but yeah.
Yeah. And you know what else it does too is it takes emotion out of the picture, right?
Mm,
That's another thing that dollar cost, because emotion is really bad when it comes to investing and savings and things like that. So if you think about it, when
yeah.
the market's at an all-time low, we've got COVID, we've got all this stuff going on. Everyone is emotionally strapped and they're like, I've got to hold my cash. I got to keep it. I can't, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I can't do anything with it. And then when it's at an all-time high, everyone's like, oh yeah, the party's right and everything's great. I'm going to go throw some cash in at the high, right? So Warren Buffett, who's like I study Warren a lot, and he has a quote that says, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful."
Wow.
So be
That's pretty
fearful
good.
when others
Okay.
are
Okay.
greedy, and
Okay.
right. So let's break that down. So if you're in a lift, yes, Jessica, I said lift.
Shouts
If
out
you're
to
in a
Lift.
lift,
Okay.
shouts out to lift. If you're in a lift and you're driving and the driver wants to talk to you about his great ideas of investing and the market's at an all-time high and he's talking about foreign exchange and he's talking about this and that, you better be fearful. You better be fearful, because that's craziness. And then when everyone is bunkered down and they're scared like they were in mid-March, that's when you need to be, I don't like the word greedy, but that's when you need to be aggressive. And that's what
Aggressive
I
is
did,
probably
right?
yeah.
Right. Everybody was fearful. They were like, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. We have a pandemic, the market's going to crash to zero and the companies are all, and all this stuff. Well, true, but take advantage, probably not a good word to say take advantage of, but if there's a crisis,
Yeah.
that's when you have to take emotion out of it,
Yeah.
sit back and say, okay, what can I do? There's a crisis, and the mortgage interest rates, the 10-year mortgage interest rates were at an all-time low. What do? Call your mortgage guy, say, I need to refinance, get it
Mm-hmm.
down, right?
Yeah.
That's taking advantage of the situation. Interest rates are
That's
down,
what we
go
did.
refinance.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
literally what we did a
absolutely.
couple
We
of
did the
couple of
same
months ago.
thing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
just
not
being
just
smart.
stocks
That's
and
being
bonds.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's being smart. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
when I see a stock, and I'll just throw it out there, I saw FedEx at
Yeah.
$90, and I'm thinking to myself, $90? That's ridiculous. I got to throw
Yeah.
something at that. And now it's at 200, like 3 months later. So again, I mean, I got lucky on that. I lost a ton of money on other things, but again, I'm on the craps table and I go 6 and 8, and I put 8, which was FedEx, and I hit it. And then on
Yeah.
6, I won't tell you what I picked, but I lost it. Right? I mean, so it's just a fun game to play. But dollar cost averaging is important. Emotions are important,
Yeah.
and those types of things.
And I would say I would add take the emotion out of it as much as possible. I mean, these aren't. This is different than impulse buying. This is different than my midnight COVID purchase of buying this Peloton, right? I mean, that's a little
Yeah,
different, even though
yeah,
now I am an investor in Peloton just because I'm
yeah.
watching this trend. But, do your research. Don't just grab a handful of cash and put it into something just because you feel it or you have that urge. Make sure you know what you're doing, especially when it comes from a financial perspective.
Well, and James, you think about Peloton. So you bought a Peloton,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
they're very expensive, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
so you,
it's definitely a luxury product. Yes, it's definitely yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, your parents raised you to understand finance and how budgeting works and how to manage.
Hmm.
You married a wonderful woman. You have a couple kids, and you have a very smart head on your shoulder, right? I mean, you're intelligent, and you work your what off. you got educated, you have friends who are mentors, and you mentor friends around stuff, and all of that built up to you being able to make the choice, and it's a choice to buy that Peloton, to buy the
Right.
Peloton. And you know what?
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing is we talk about good purchases and bad purchases, or good credit, bad credit, like what's good to borrow money and what's not. That was an excellent purchase, because you getting on that Peloton is going to give you 5 more years of life probably, right? And so that's a really good purchase regardless. Now you paid cash, but that's a whole different story. But my friend, you built and you made choices to be able to buy that expensive Peloton, and you don't have to apologize for that. I'm very adamant about that. You work hard, you make money, you make choices, and you make good ones.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been. What do you got on your list? I've got a handful as well. I'm really regurgitating and want to make sure that some of the not necessarily common sense topics and items, but some things that we shouldn't assume are being discussed today. So my list has some of those things, like trading versus investing, dollar cost averaging. The next one I want to talk about is again is going to, I guess, hit home with more of the more people as well. But what do you got? What do you want to dive into? Let's go back and forth.
Well, one thing that I really wanted to hit on is the word choice. And I know it's not a concept that you have on your list probably,
Yeah.
but I really firmly believe that budgeting and money is a choice. It's people can afford anything they want. And I hate that. I can't afford it. I'm poor. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Oh, BS. You can afford anything you want. You just choose not to. Here's an example. Grace and I driving home the other day, we see this, incredible looking car. It was like a Ferrari in Walnut Creek, and we're pulling, and it was incredible. And he pulls into an apartment complex. And I was thinking, all right,
Okay,
hopefully you're going to, but
yeah,
that's
pick somebody
his,
up. No.
but either pick somebody up, but that's his choice, right? He
Yeah.
chose to get a nice car and live in an apartment. And I respect that if that's what you're all about. So I just think the language and the semantics of how we talk about money and affordability and other things is important, because people can afford it. You afforded that Peloton, and
Yeah.
you had to sacrifice something to get it. That's called
Yeah.
opportunity cost, which I don't know if we want to get into opportunity cost, but that's important. I bought this house in Walnut Creek. It was a lot of money, and I drive a 2008 Lexus.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I chose, right?
It's a choice. Yeah, it's a choice.
You choose to buy a 2020, $150,000 Tesla, go for it. But I invest in my house. So anyway.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's key as well, right? Again, everyone is always talking about, yeah, I can't afford this. I probably shouldn't buy this, whatever. If you plan for it, if you save for it, if you make the right decisions, you can pretty much acquire some financing, or you can decide, I'm not going to eat out these days of the month or whatever. You can work
Yeah.
it out. You can figure it out. So yeah, I can't afford something. Yeah, that's almost a cop out. But again, it's a conscious decision that you have to make if you decide to go down a particular path. So
Well, you
buying a
talk about
Ferrari
eating
while
out.
living,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so you talk about eating out. So this is something. This is an
Of course,
exercise.
that's all we can do right now, right? Well, no,
Yeah,
we can't even
I know.
we can't do it now. We're just eating at
Yeah,
home. So yeah,
I know. So well, and we eat out too, right?
yeah,
But you brought it up, and it's funny because I don't know. It was a couple years ago. We had an exercise that the family did, and it was in the month of September. I'll never forget. I don't know if it was called like September to Remember or Suck It Up in September. I don't know. It was something like that. But it was. I remember it was September, and we said you can't use your debit card, you can't use your credit card. You got your cash, and you have to stick to that, and you have to log and monitor everything you do. So we were trying to figure
Okay.
out where all the money goes,
Yeah.
right? And again, it's easy to have a budget and say, well, some money goes to Verizon, some goes to Comcast, some goes to my rent or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
harder to say, where does all that other money go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we did it, and I'll tell you, and to Alex's point about eating out is dangerous, it's so true. It just adds up, and we literally determined that was our issue. It
Okay.
wasn't, it wasn't the $3 Starbucks once or twice a day, or Pete's, or whatever
Yeah.
coffee company used. I mean, it was eating out, and I think exercises like that are good, and they're not fun. I mean, but it's like working out. Working out isn't
Yeah.
fun. You monitor your weight, you monitor your rings or whatever, your Fitbit, or I mean, it's no fun. But if you don't
Yeah.
monitor, have goals, have discipline, you're never going to get better at it. And money is something that you have to work at, just like technology, marriage, working out, weight, fitness. I mean, money is no different. It's absolutely no different. And so
Yeah.
creating exercises like that are cool. Maybe I'm just weird, but that's what I think.
No, I mean that's a good point because that again that's something that I had on my list here, and I do see. Hey, Grace, I see your question here, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But monitoring and staying on track of your finances. Do you have or recommend like any? I'm a technology guy. So do you recommend any apps or any platforms to use to track for how much you're spending for budgeting? There's apps out there like Truebill and Mint and things
Yeah.
like that. Do you recommend that, or are you old school Microsoft Excel spreadsheet and just drop it in a pivot table? That was a
Um,
loaded question because I could.
well, it is a loaded question because I'm old school. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. But everyone is different. Whatever gets you excited, I don't care. Mint is great, and they
Mhm.
have milestones and celebrations and things like that. And Grace and I and my family use Excel spreadsheets, and we have the budget here.
Mhm.
We have an asset and liability worksheet that shows our net worth. We have our stock portfolio. I mean, it's all on Excel. And I bought Grace
Mhm.
that big old monitor that you told me to buy. So she has this big old monitor. So every other week, she pulls up all the spreadsheets, and her and I sit down and we go through it together. And that's another thing. It's you can have the technology or you can use the spreadsheets or whatever, but if you don't talk about it and you don't do it together, like, and again, I don't want to push what I do, but Grace and I do it
Yeah.
together, and some people don't. You got to talk about it. Yeah, Grace, she calls it the envelope fund because we stick it in a virtual envelope. So we think an Excel
Well,
spreadsheet is
my
virtual.
in-laws use an actual envelope for a lot of their things. I'm just throwing them out there on Front Street here right now. But when I first met my wife's parents, she would have tons of envelopes with whatever expense that it was for, and here's food money, here's bill money, or whatever the case would be. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but again, it worked for them.
Yeah,
Excel works for me. I know for you, it's probably Mint.
yeah.
I don't, for me, I don't really care what it is as long as you have a plan. Like
As long as you
those,
do something, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
If you don't plan, you plan to fail, or whatever that quote is. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy, and it's
yeah.
important. It's important because money. Think about money. I was thinking about it in prep for this show, and when I used to go on BART, or I used to be on the
Mm,
airplane going to St. Louis or whatever, I would always hear conversations, right? Or if you hear about people that are fighting, many times it's about money. And those conversations on
yeah,
BART, those conversations on the airplane, whether you like it or not, I mean, and again, money isn't everything, but it's a very integral part of our life. I mean, today with unemployment and trying to get the $600 accelerator, now the $400 accelerator,
yeah.
and all that. And forget about
Hmm.
government. I don't want to talk about government, but I
Watch out
do.
now. Yeah.
No, I know. But I do want to talk about the fact that there's 20 million people who are now trying to figure out work. There's do I buy a house or do I rent? Do I do this or do I do that? Or my car broke down, I can't get to work. Do I buy a new car? Do I get a loan? Do I pay cash? Do I borrow from my mom? I mean, I would say 80% of the conversations that occur in the world have some component of money in it. Good, bad, and ugly. And, and that's why I think this show is important as much as it's, it's not as fun as music, but it's more important than music. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, this is, all the shows are timely, relevant news of the day. And this is definitely, this fits into that whole mantra of what the site's all about. You mentioned, and this was on my list, so I'm going to go into it now. And it was Grace's question, right? Putting money aside, putting money away regularly, taking advantage of opportunities that are afforded to you. So for those that are in the workplaces where their organizations will match what you're putting into a retirement account or your 401k account, your thoughts on that, right? Do you, again, I think this is a softball question, a loaded question, but your thoughts on putting money in to that point to where the employer matches, or putting money in beyond that so you can be slightly more set up for success. You understand what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on that? So say your employer matches 6%. Should you put in 5%, 6%, 20%? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So we talk about 401k. So pension plans, unless you're part of a government entity like the city of Danville, or the state of California, or with a pension plan, it's a little bit different. Now they still have their 403bs as well, but if we just stick to 401ks, or the concept of a 401k, I wanted to get to compounding interest quickly, and you allowed me to do that. So all I have to
it's almost like we work together. None of this was pre-planned, but we just, after 30 years, we know how each other thinks.
We do. And as a matter of fact, I was running in here 2 minutes before the call, so I know we didn't plan anything on this call. But compounding interest is your friend when you're young, and frankly, when you're middle-aged. But if compounding interest doesn't help you when you're in your 70s or 80s, because, compounding means it compounds. So the concept is, if you put money in for a month and it earns interest, the next month you're earning interest on the interest plus what you had before. Then the next month you're earning interest on the original plus the interest and interest. So it's called compounding. And it is your friend when you're young. It is the most incredible concept that people forget about. And with that, a 401k is a great example. I started back in 1989. I think they came out in 84, but I started my work career in 89. And I've been contributing the maximum amount since 1989. So nice. 30 years of compounding, because I didn't want to rely on anyone else, Social Security. I didn't want to rely on anything else. And I knew I didn't have a pension, so I was very nervous. And I took advantage of the match plus some. My advice is take the free money whenever you can, but you can't do it. Like think about it, James. My company has 250,000 employees, and we have some that don't even contribute to 401k, and some that don't even take the match. And it's just a travesty. And so I mean, I would say that this is the Michael Jordan component. Okay. Is find the amount that presses you to the point, yes, and then add a little bit more. Right.
Okay.
Make it painful.
Well, because I was going to say get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right. So that was what I was going to say. But you're saying, even where it's a little bit of a stretch, try to put in another 1 or 2%. So that's an interesting concept. But that's coming again from a financial mind, you right there, and yeah, that's a good thing, I think. Right. To get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but still maybe can you add 1 or 2 extra % and maybe cut out that almond milk latte every day or whatever it may be.
Well, cut it. Yeah.
Be set up for the future.
I don't care. I mean, it's got to hurt, right? You can't get better in the lab if you're not pushing yourself to get hurt. Make it hurt, right? And the same thing with money. It's like, and I tell my kids all the time, it's like, well, I'm putting in 18%. I mean, how much more can I put in? I said, well, put in the max, 19,500. Well, I can't do that. Why not? It's your choice. You can't do it. Why not? Because you want to get a car, you want to eat out, you want to pay your rent. Okay, so I get there are reasons why people can't do it, but if it doesn't hurt, then that's a problem. So I would just say put in enough to get the match, find out what hurts, and then just give a little more. I always think of Michael.
Yeah, yeah. Those are good points. Because and we're also, I guess, another thing that I want to iterate as well. Those numbers can fluctuate, right? So I want to say two things. So you can put in an amount. If it hurts too much, you can pull
Yeah.
back. If it doesn't hurt enough, you can add more. And this doesn't have to be only once a year. But what I
Yep.
also what I also do is every year is just add an extra 5%.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not at the 19.5, but every year, and well, next year, but uh, do it automatically, right? So you don't even have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Set up the account, set up the fund where you're already used to this X amount coming out of your take home. Do it on an automatic increase if you're not already at
Yeah.
that top withdrawal for the year. So I
That's a
would
good point
recommend
because they do. I
you
mean,
know
companies try to help. They try to set up the automatic increase. They try to
yes
set up
yeah
automatic. What's it called? Where they rebalancing, where they automatically
yes yeah
rebalance your
yeah
accounts, automatically
yeah
increase it or whatever. But it's gotta hurt, and you
yeah
can't. I mean, we talked about patience. I mean, two months ago, you got to be patient with it because it takes time. It takes time to eliminate debt. It takes time to grow money. Compounding interest doesn't happen overnight. And I tell my kids all the time, it's like, if you take money today and just sock it in there and close your eyes, and then 30 years from now, like me, you're going to look at it and go, wow, I'm proud of myself. So
yeah
I'm
yeah
actually, I mean, I'm like, I am
yeah
proud of myself and Grace pushing our family, her and I, and the kids to become better. I mean,
yes
we are financially fit. I'm not physically fit, but we are financially fit.
yes
And I'm proud of that. And I'm not and I don't apologize for that. I mean, we
yeah no
work
no
our
that's
butts
definitely
off
something
for that.
to
Yeah.
shout from the rooftops. That's a good thing. Unfortunately, that's not the norm. And I think
Yeah.
that's the reason why we're having this conversation, right? Now, there's unfortunately a minority of folks who can really say that, you know what, if the car breaks down, if the roof caves in because it got hit by lightning today or whatever, it's going to take a significant chunk out of monthly expenses and not going to be able to easily move and bounce for that. So
Well,
we're,
okay,
again,
okay, hold up.
not
Wait, hold on.
yeah.
You just brought up a very important COVID related learning that
Oh,
I wanted to
okay.
make sure. And you talk about the broken down car and all these types. I'll tell you, the one thing that was reinforced that I learned through this COVID pandemic
Yeah.
is number one, live within your means. Okay. So, whatever those means are, like I'm not here to dictate what your means are, but live within
Hmm.
whatever means you've defined and outlined for you, your family, your partner, spouse, whatever. Live within your means. Because when COVID hit, 20 million people get unemployed, you don't live within your means. I mean, you're struggling right now. And the second
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
as it relates to living with, live within your means and having that cushion, that 6 to 8 months worth of bill coverage. And that may sound
Hmm.
easier said than done, but force yourself to get there. I
Yeah.
mean, do the math, multiply out your monthly bills times say 6 months, and then just work your way to get there. And that puts such a burden off your shoulder, gives you peace of mind, makes you feel better. Because like right now, because I've done that, right? I worked my what off to
Hmm.
get me to have 6 months worth. So if I got the bad phone call that says, Tim, you're done, I know that Grace and I can take those 6 months and we can make it happen.
Right.
And again, I know a lot of people talk about it and all that good stuff, and it's easier said than done. But that is the number one priority. If you don't have that 6 to 8 months worth of savings, you might as well forget about your 401k. You got to get this first. Forget about 30 years from now. You got to worry about today with that broken down car. So anyway, I mean, I get so
that's a
passionate
perfect
about it.
segue. No, that's a perfect segue of what I want to go into next. But I guess I want to before we move on to that, I want to touch on what Alec wrote up. So yeah, the employee
Yeah,
stock purchase program, because we were talking about 401k and matching as well. I
yeah.
agree with that as well. Employee stock purchase programs are fantastic because you can get them at a incredible discount. I will
It's
go back to
automatic.
what you said
It's
earlier,
automatic.
Tim. It's automatic, right? I will go back to what you say again, but continue to focus on diversification, right? If you
Yeah,
work for whatever company, don't put all your money that you're investing into that one company, even though you're
yeah.
getting it at a substantial discount. You kind of agree with that?
Yes, and here's the reason why. I've seen too many people impacted by it,
Yeah.
where their companies have gone like Wachovia is a great example. I mean, I don't think it's a
Oh,
secret that
yeah.
I work for
Yeah.
Wells Fargo, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
that's a secret, then well, it's out of the bag now. So, a lot of people who were with Wachovia have taught me to be careful because the stock plummeted, and it's not just about that too. So, if you think about your company is paying you every 2 weeks. Your company is matching your 401k, which normally goes into their stock. You're investing in their stock just in through mutual funds and other ways. You may have personal investments. You may get stock grants from your company if you're an executive. And then you do employee stock purchase plan, which you're buying more of that stock. So all of that piled up, I mean, I know again, take emotion out of
Hmm.
it. And if your company goes through some tough times and ends up not making it, not only do you lose your paycheck every 2 weeks, but all of those other 4 or 5 things go down as well. So you have to be
Yeah.
diversified from that respect too.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, we started to hit on the concept, and now I want to go into it. And you brought it up, and literally it's on my list here. Revolving debt, high credit card interest rates, and the hell that all is, right? And
Yeah,
living
yeah,
within
yeah.
means, understanding that yeah, you gotta have credit to get credit. It's good to have a decent FICO and all that. So you got to be in the game to you got to participate in this cycle, but living within your means again. The statement that you brought up, and just understanding that a 25% APR interest rate on a credit card is just brutal, right? So you're paying so much more in those types of fees. Talk to us about again your thoughts on revolving debt, revolving credit, and high interest credit card.
Okay, that could take an hour, but here's the thing: I'll do it in 2 minutes. First of all, I'll never forget a conversation that I had with my kids. Alec was 12 and Jessica was 16. And I said, there are three things that I want you to focus on in life, three critical things in life that you need to focus on. Again, they were 12 and 16. I said, number one thing you need to focus on is don't break the law. Okay. Don't break the
That's a good one.
law. That was a good one,
Okay,
right?
we'll
So I
start there.
said, don't murder, don't commit crimes
Mom and
because
Dad do not want to come pick you up
I don't
from the
want to come pick up.
downtown hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So anyway, so one was don't break the law, and they laughed and they said, "Well,
yeah,
of course we follow the law. That's what we're supposed to do." And then I said the second thing is you have to get your GPA has got to be phenomenal. So I know your kids are fantastic and their GPAs are awesome. So I said your GPA is critical because it allows you to go. If you have a high GPA, it ultimately means that you learn something, which then you can go apply at a tech school or
yeah,
a university
yeah,
or whatever, right?
yeah.
Get a job.
Set you up for
Um,
that next level. Yes.
exactly, whatever that level is.
Yeah.
And the third one was FICO, Fair Isaac. I said that is great, and of course Alec is 12 and Jessica 16. They're like, "What is FICO? What is Fair Isaac?" And I said, "You'll learn, and I'll teach you that it's important, and it's an all-encompassing way to protect yourself because credit is important." So anyway,
Yeah.
From a debt perspective, I would say there's good debt and bad debt. And I think we talked about it. The good debt is the student loan that you get your kid so they can go to UCLA and graduate and go out and become a great citizen and get a good job, right? That's good debt. A student loan is a good debt. Another good debt is the car that broke down. If that person has to go out and get a car loan to get another car to get them to work, to stay employed, that's good debt, right? So a car loan is good debt if you're using it to employ yourself, because if you don't have one, then you can't stay employed. And bad debt is the 25% interest credit card that you use.
It just sounds bad when you say it. I mean,
yeah, it's bad. It's bad, but sometimes it's necessary for emergencies. But it's or good, not bad. It's bad if you use it to load up on the Nordstrom half yearly sale, right? And you can't afford to pay it back when it comes due, or whatever, because I mean, a lot of credit card debt really takes a very long time to eliminate. And unfortunately, it impacts your ability to press yourself on your 401k business that you want to, increase because you got to pay off this. There is just nothing good about credit card debt unless it's for an emergency, like the poor person who unfortunately had their car break down or whatever, right? So I'm not anti-credit card either, right? I love it. If you take advantage of it, you use it, you get points, you can use those points to travel. There's benefits of credit cards, but there's also some dangers of credit cards. And it's the reason why, my friend, that banks were kicked off of universities, because banks were going to universities and really pushing credit cards on students. And unfortunately, a student having a credit card is a wonderful thing. Let me sit down with a student and talk to them about the value of getting that credit card at 18. That'll benefit them and their FICO come when they're 40. But unfortunately, the conversations don't happen the way I would have them across the country at universities. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, I know back in the day, I mean, going up and down first week of school at the semester, there'd be a booth of every club you can join, a booth for are you Russian, a Greek. Yeah. Then there's a credit card company there. There's one of the banks passing out the trifold, say sign this up and we'll get you a free hat and a free towel. Yeah. And you're automatically approved. Wait a minute, what? No.
Yeah. And their intentions are good. I mean, I'm telling you, the intention is good. Yeah. And the unfortunate is some of the outcomes aren't great, but intentions are good, because car loans, credit cards, all those things for kids that turn 18 and grow, if they have a good framework of family and friends to help guide them through it, it's extremely beneficial. I had my first credit card when I was 18 from the university at UC Davis, and I still have that card today, and it's on my credit bureau, and it says, 32 years of history with
that's the most important thing, right? That length of history, irregardless of what that limit is, almost as important as your payment history, because the payment history, again, is a very high mark on the FICO. But just the fact that you've got a account that's been open for 30 years, I mean, that longevity is huge. Again, to continue to bring you up to the 7, 8s and things to those real not respectable numbers, but numbers that
are. No, you can say that. It's respectable. I mean, unfortunately, that's the reality. I mean, if your FICO is 700 to 800, then that is respectable for somebody who's going to lend you money. If it's 500, 600, then unfortunately, a lender is going to say, look, they just didn't have the ability to manage it, and we're going to have to hold off until they can make that change.
Or it's going to be that incredibly high interest rate. Oh my goodness, she said Mervyn's. Oh, now she's old school there. Got chalks. Wine stocks.
Mervyn's. If my mom and dad are on, I mean, we used to go to Mervyn's all the time. I mean, but that's a good point. Grace brings up that if that is your first account, go get it, but you have to manage it. I mean, you can't let it get out of control. And unfortunately it does. Be smart with it and talk about it with people. I mean, I've said this for the last 50 minutes. I mean, find a mentor, a friend, somebody to talk to about it. I have a couple friends that we talk about money all the time, and we get really specific about it. I
Hmm.
mean, we talk about balances and investments and things like that. And if you find those friends, it's important. And don't be embarrassed about it. Don't be embarrassed about it. Oh, my mom and
That's
dad are
true.
here. Go
That's true.
Mervins. Go
I- that's true. I mean, take the stigma out of talking about finance, because I think that's how we grow. That's how we learn, and that's the idea behind today, right? Just trying to take that negative cloud away from it and just have everyone ask questions. I don't know all the answers. I've got questions again from just a regular consumer, and looking at you as a subject matter expert, and you're providing all this incredible knowledge. So appreciate you for that, sir. Um, I
And
did want to
celebrate,
listen.
James, real quick. I mean,
What's that?
celebrate. You got to celebrate stuff too. This is
Yeah.
like working
Yes.
out, when you hit a certain weight, or I remember you celebrated when you got your numbers down and got
Yeah. Yeah.
stronger, and you got to celebrate as well. I mean, one of our family members paid off a car recently, and we celebrated, man. We popped some champagne, and it's like, woo, you
I
paid off your
love it.
car. That's a big deal. Now, paying
That's
off
a
your
big
car
deal.
loan, it does hurt your FICO score, unfortunately, paying off a car loan by a
When
couple
they
points.
close that loan, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah.
That's true. That's true. I like what you say, Eric, there too. Yeah, go be financial literate with the youngsters. And I want to go back, Mr. Burks, to a question that you brought up not too long ago, and asked him this, because we were talking about the types of funds and the types of opportunities out there. What do you think about something like this, index universal accounts?
Well, let me say two things. First of all, Eric, financial literacy is critical, and my company created a non-branded website. So this is not about my company. This is not about anything that they benefit from, but handsonbanking.org. Handsonbanking.org goes through all the different life stages, from little kids to teens, tweens, grown-ups. I mean, handsonbanking.org is a great way. That's it right there, to help you. And again, it was built by my company, but we don't benefit from it. You can share it with anybody. We use it to go into schools and nonprofits to help people get back on their feet. And that's another reason why I like to make money too and save it, is to give back to the community. Grace and I donate a ton of money to various organizations that we're passionate about. We give back a ton of money. And this is another thing we do back outside of giving back money, is go to handsonbanking.org. It's a huge thing. So good for you, Eric. And the reason why I'm using a lot of words to describe that is because I have no idea what an index universal account is. I have I have no idea. Eric, call
Well,
me and let's talk about it, because I have no
and
clue
and I
about what
wondered,
that
because
is.
I know Eric, it may be, and definitely chime in if we're talking about something that I'm wrong about. I know he's into Bitcoin, alternative coins, things of that nature.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah, yeah,
wondering if
yeah,
it
yeah.
if it's along those avenues as well. So
There's also index universal accounts that are related to insurance, which you can do.
hmm.
Universal insurance, which is a way to invest money and also get insurance at the same time. I personally don't have it. Universal insurance. I don't believe in insurance. It's just me. Again, just me. I just believe that investing in insurance should be separate. Um, but well, Eric and I and you are going to have a cocktail in your backyard and talk about that one, because I
Done.
don't I don't know, but I do know that what Eric says about literacy is beyond important. And yeah, that's what I thought. It's a life policy with cash value. I would say though that the you have to talk to people and get them literate. You can't get better if you don't know about it. Um,
Yeah.
and
Good point.
let's pop a bottle of wine and talk about life policies with cash value, because there are benefits. I've got a buddy of mine who is an insurance agent who has that. Again, I don't have one. I have a term policy, and then after you grow to a certain level, I think insurance kind of fades away,
Hmm.
and not as necessary. But there are benefits to what Eric's bringing up, and if you're into that, I would definitely check in with an insurance agent.
I like it. I like it. Talk to us, brother. What you got? Anything that you wanted to tag on or talk specifically about? I know we hit a lot of topics, and I think this was amazing, to be be honest with you. But talk to us about what you got on your mind.
Yeah, I want to reinforce the stigma, finding a mentor. I want to have a beer with Eric and talk about that. I want to learn more about the life with cash policies. I want to. I think we have to have discussions and dialogue about, and it's boring, right? I mean, it's not fun. It's not sexy to talk
Hmm.
about budgeting and all this stuff, but you have to find a mentor. You have to be patient. There's no quick ways to grow your wealth, and there's no quick ways to eliminate your debt. We didn't talk about real estate either. I'm not a real estate guy. I'm not. It's tricky. I mean, I
Yeah.
prefer to buy stocks and mutual funds versus real estate because I think real estate is um, extremely tricky. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I have a quote. I have a
Uh oh.
quote
Talk
because a
to us.
lot. Well, and again, this will offend everybody, but that's okay. So
That's all right. It doesn't matter.
it is all right. And the thing about it is because of the money stigma, unfortunately, um, the people that don't want to talk about it, the people that are anti, I don't want to talk about money. You shouldn't talk about money. Da, 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 or money isn't everything, and health is more important. Which I agree. I mean, health is important, and money can't cure cancer for me if I got cancer, right? I mean, I get that, but people that say that are people that need help, and they need
Hmm.
help understanding the value of the conversation, the value that just because you talk about money or just because you have it doesn't mean that that's all you care about. And I just get frustrated with that. And my quote is, money can't buy happiness, but it sure makes misery easier to deal with. Oh, I had to throw that
I
out there. I had to throw
I
that
don't know
out
what else to say. That I just that may be it right there, brother. There's the right.
Oh, we
Put it in
can't
the
close
bucket.
on that. Yeah, we can't
No, I
close
mean
on that. But
I'm actually gonna write
yeah,
that down, and I might use that for some other purpose. But that's pretty good stuff. That's pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that I mean, I'm looking at some of my other notes, and I think that what I believe about money, what's so important about money is it gives me peace of mind, and it allows me to feel have a level of safety in my
yeah,
mind. I think it creates opportunity for experiences that I think I want to provide for my family, like my family provided for me. My mom and dad provided experience for me.
yeah,
They sacrificed in the military, and they bought me shoes that I could play basketball with. I mean, they brought so much to the table as it relates to having money. I think it supports family and helps with education. You're able to put your beautiful daughter through college at UCLA because of all the hard work you did to earn and
hmm,
create money for
hmm,
yourself.
yeah,
So I just think I just challenge everybody to have conversations about it, and the more we talk about it, the more we challenge ourselves and get better. You challenge me on my rings, and it makes me stronger. I challenge you to on your savings rates. I challenge you
yeah,
on your debt management, and maybe it'll make you better. But I think
yeah.
it's definitely not. It's not everything. Money isn't everything, but I think the conversation is everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's one of those
that's all.
uncomfortable, awkward kind of conversations. And it doesn't have to be that, but it's one of those necessary conversations. And I kind of like what my dad was saying. It's called being in denial. If you're in
Yeah,
denial, then you're never going to you're never going to progress. You're never going to have any positive growth. So get out of that
yeah.
and have these positive conversations to uh, where you can be successful. And this is a great quote from a young buddy of mine right here. Sounds like the what is the apple does not fall too far from the tree there.
But and he loves money for not for the reasons that anti-money people would talk about. He loves money because it allows him to do what I just described. It allows him to go to the beach in 2 weeks for a week. Him, Katie, and family are going to the beach for a week. It allows him
Yeah,
to fly out here, right, for holidays. Um, It allows him to buy a great dinner for his girlfriend Katie, whose birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Katie! And
Yeah.
and he bought her a lovely dinner. So money has its benefits, but it also, I mean, there's a show on CNBC called American Greed,
Yes.
and
Yep.
yeah, so right, so watch that show because those individuals are crazy, and I do mine ethically and in a great way, and I give back. I mean, I'll share with every one of you how much money I give back and who I give back to because it's important to me that I
Yeah.
give back as well. And so not everybody is American Greed who has money, right? I mean, and so I hate when that stigma or that stereotype gets out there that everyone that has money is bad, is a bad
Right.
person,
Right.
and I don't think that that's true. So
No, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. And normally Monday through Friday, that television on the back wall right there is glued on CNBC. I'm a squawk box kind of guy. So yeah, that is locked in on CNBC as well.
I love it.
You got me in
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Well, I was watching it before. I'm a big
yeah,
John Fort guy, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and everyone there. I'm not a Mad Money guy. I don't like that show.
Yeah,
That's more the trading versus the investing, and he's
yeah.
just too wild for me. But everybody, opening bell, closing bell, squawk box, and that's me. That's me.
Because they talk about, and it's not just about money and stocks and bonds and rich people making money
Yeah.
off of stocks and bonds, right? It's about the economy. And it
Yes.
talks about unemployment and the impacts of unemployment and impacts of Fed rate cut decisions and interest rates and foreign exchange. And to me, it just gets me so pumped up because I love to study it. I don't
Yeah.
care if I have it or not, frankly. I just like to study it. I like to learn about it. CNBC helps me with that. Kiplinger Magazine helps me with that,
Yeah.
which used to be Money Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Books like Warren Buffett have written. And I'm just weird. I love to study it just like Michael Jordan loves to study basketball. I love to study money. And I like the peace of mind it gives me during, as an example, during these really rough COVID times
Right.
and
Right.
and and interesting times overall. It gives me that peace of mind to where if I got laid off from my company today, I don't really care. I really
Yeah.
don't. I
Yeah.
really don't.
I
I
mean,
mean,
the
I'm
lights are going to
good.
stay on. There's still going to be some food on the table, things of that, and you can make it for X number of months, maybe even a year, whatever the case may be. But and that's not out of reach for everyone. So I guess I want to reiterate that those types
It's
of
not.
uh, goals are not out of reach. Again, regardless of your age, regardless of your situation, really. I mean, you can still start making those incremental steps. I think that's the idea that we're trying to push forward, right? If you haven't started, okay, but start. but
It's
start
never
and
too late to start
yeah,
either, James. And the little smallest amounts make a big difference. But you got to be disciplined. It's got to be
yep,
automatic, and you have to have milestones and goals and celebrations. If you hit a certain milestone, go celebrate. Use your credit card and go to that half yearly sale and buy yourself a nice jacket, whatever. Right? I mean, um, but you have to. You have to talk about it, and you have to be disciplined. It's like nothing
yeah,
else. It's like the discipline that we talked about with technology, the discipline with fitness.
yeah, yeah. I like it. I like it, man. This was a good conversation, brother. This was a much
Yeah,
needed conversation.
a little
You
more
know,
serious than I would
yeah,
like, and I know it's not exciting. It's a little bit boring, but I'll tell you, it's a big deal when you can get to the point of not being handcuffed by your company and not and right or any company or being handcuffed to a job, right? When you can sit back like your father, Mr. Hicks does, or you can sit back like
yeah,
my father does and say, I worked my tail off and I've got a military retirement. I've got this retirement. I've got this pension. I've got Social Security, which I love, by the way. I love the government helping people as they get older and aging and all that stuff. And now I just enjoy life. And there's a feeling you
mm,
get when you're not handcuffed
yeah,
as well. And Hunter brings it up. Start early, man. Handsonbanking.org or just having conversations Hunter, maybe we can talk about it over dinner tonight. When I come over, we can talk about some more finance.
You can bring out the whiteboard,
Exactly.
bring the laptop, fire up Excel or something. This is the
Yeah,
curve. You watch that curve. I love it. I love it.
yeah, yeah. So we got to talk about
Man.
future shows. We got to talk about future shows. I know we still haven't talked about technology. We haven't talked about sports, which are kind of
Ooh,
getting back in again, albeit
take a
without
look here.
fans. Travel. Um,
Oh,
oh,
yeah, because we
Wendy.
aren't we
Yeah.
literally right now supposed to be in Alaska? Yeah. So
Yeah, we are. We're supposed to be in Alaska right now. I missed my trip with my top bloke from uh, Australia who couldn't join
yeah,
today because he's working, but all that good stuff. And Wendy, I mean, here's Wendy. She's being vulnerable, right? I mean,
yeah,
Wendy, who's up in the Pacific Northwest right now, a friend of ours. So she didn't learn some of the stuff till her mid 40s, and that's not that's not okay. I mean, and Wendy is like, okay, yeah, she's doing great now, and just imagine of what she could have learned if she was 16, and those types of things. And that's
yeah.
unfortunate that that it takes that long for some people to learn. But Wendy's doing great. She's got a great job. She's awesome. Great life. So it just
And
goes to show you, it doesn't matter when you
it's
start, you
never
can
too
make it
late. It's never
happen.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that just made me think about something. I mean, again, because again, back when we were in school, we had like we said, the home economics. We had how to, like we said at the beginning, how to write a check. We had kind of budgeting courses in school. Now they don't do that, and that's I think a disservice to this next generation in terms of how they can be successful out of school and moving forward. I mean, those are the types of things we need. Everything we need: sports, we need music, we need we need how to cook, how to sew, how to type. I mean, all of those types of things. But you also have to have that financial literacy, and it's unfortunate that some of those programs are being phased out with our education system. So
yeah. I mean,
hopefully we'll get to a point where they come
they
back.
don't have room for it, right? They just, and
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
I'm not going to be critical of that, of what they do, but it's a nationwide issue, and they just don't have room in the curriculum, unfortunately, to teach it with all the other demands with English and science and other things. And it's unfortunate to the point where they do come to people like me, though, schools, and say, can you come in and do some education? But it's a one hit wonder, right? It's like one
yeah.
day. My buddy Scott, I went to Dixon High School and did a session with his class around money. It wasn't
Mm,
around budgeting, it was around money. And I was laying it out there. I was like direct about money. And if you don't manage it, and if you don't think about it, and if you don't talk about it when you get out of school, you are going to fail. You've got to
mm.
talk about it. And I had a real heart to heart with those kids. And, I probably connected with 2 out of 30. But at least I feel
Hey,
good about those two, right?
yeah.
As well. But again, the schools just can't do it. It's unfortunate. Our industry and financial services is out there trying to help support the cause, and parents. I mean, people on this call, whether it be Wendy or Hunter and Michelle or Eric or others, or your parents, my parents, it's really up to them to
Yeah,
help start to stimulate those conversations, or up to us to have these conversations as well, with kids too.
agreed. Agreed. Completely makes sense. Looks like we got some requests for future shows. I put that plug up there, the
Oh,
banner up there, and folks want us to talk about travel. We've got our list, right? That we haven't
yeah.
shared with
Uh,
the whole community. It's on there. We've got some. Did you pull up the sheet there? Thanks to our wonderful producer, your daughter, Jess,
yeah, she's
for
backpacking right now. She's backpacking with Eli in Yosemite. So for
gotta
four
love
days,
that.
yeah, no campsite. They're just full blown backpacking. I hope they're okay.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. No
Goodness.
cell coverage, no nothing. So she'll be all right.
And guess what? So backpacking for 4 days in Yosemite, You pay for gas to get there. You pay for a little bit of food. Anyway, I don't care if you have no money in the world. You can still go out and have an experience backpacking at a very low cost. So don't
Yeah.
make excuses that you can't get out and do things if you don't have any money. That's just lame. That's
That's crazy
lame.
talk. And that's my favorite, one of my favorite places on the planet. So Yosemite, uh, make sure you say it right. There's certain
What
folks
did
that
I
don't know how to
say?
say it, but no,
Yosemite?
they're not you.
Oh, did I say it
we,
wrong?
won't- we won't go along that, but that's my little dig. But yeah, that's all good.
Like Nevada instead of Nevada. So we got
Louisville,
travel. Sounds like we got
Louisville.
a lot of votes for travel. I say,
Yeah,
let's have some fun in a few weeks and talk about
right.
travel. I mean, both of us have a lot of experience with travel, and I know a lot of people who join here do too. So let's do it. Let's commit right
Yeah,
now. Commit right now.
done.
We're doing travel. Done.
Done. That's how easy it is. And we like a specific form of travel, so we'll talk about that and
Ooh.
how that's been impacted by COVID and how unfortunately that may be a while before we get to do that. I won't bring it up. I'll just tease it out there. Uh,
You brought it up, but I made an investment in one of those carriers
yeah,
when
really.
it hit $8. It hit $8 a share, and I popped a decent amount of cash in that thing, and it's doubled. So that was a
Really?
good one. Hopefully, we can get back
Okay.
on those things.
Yes, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
again, so back to that. I mean, in investing, you buy on the bad, you sell on the good, right? I mean, that whole counterintuitive type of mentality. Um,
Yeah.
so that particular situation worked out good for you.
Yeah, you buy on the bad news and sell on the good news or what. I was waiting for some bad news. Give me some bad news. What's the bad news? Oh, we're shutting down the country. Okay, well, that's bad news. We're
That's
shutting the
pretty bad.
country
That's pretty
down. That's
bad.
pretty bad. Let me figure out where I'm going to invest.
Everything stopped. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Well, Tim, appreciate you, brother. Another great show. I think the engagement, the interaction that we had was pretty cool. The topic was amazing. The company being with you was phenomenal. So today was another good day, brother. Another good day. Now
Yeah,
it's time to go
no,
out
I
and get
appreciate
get
it.
on the bike. Uh, I'm sure you'll go out in the garage, go hit the treadmill or something.
I will. I will after I have breakfast. I'm starving. Man, I
What
didn't
in
even
the
get to
what?
eat
Well,
my
didn't you
my
have? You
yogurt
don't have
today.
your yogurt going?
I do. I have my
Oh,
yogurt, but I didn't even get to finish it. So I'll do that. So anyway, but yeah, yeah. Thank you, James, for making this forum available. I don't care if we connect in with one or two people. If we can make the world a better place and give a hug to those two people, have at it. But you're the man. I love you. I love the family. So
same as
peace.
me. Love you too, brother. Be good, you guys.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys for
All
joining
right.
us. We're out.
Peace. Bye.